She asked me this one question, and that's when I knew she cheated. Female psychology. I used to think that question meant she cared. She looked at me one quiet night, leaned in just enough to meet my eyes, and said softly, "You don't trust me? I'm 53. And that one question, it hit harder than any truth ever could, because the truth is, I did trust her. So much that I stopped trusting myself. So much that I ignored the little voice in my gut until it was too late, until the woman I loved was gone. You see, it wasn't what she said, it was what she didn't have to say. Stay with me, because by the end, I'm going to share the exact moment that shattered the illusion, and it just might save you from the same heartbreak. Let's go back to the kind of moment many men over 50 know too well, when something finally feels warm again. Until it doesn't. You know, something strange happens after 50. We start to believe we've seen it all. We've been through the storms, heartbreaks that made us question everything, divorces that left us picking up the pieces, betrayals that made us swear we'd never love again. We tell ourselves we're too old for games, too wise to fall for the same mistakes, too guarded to ever let someone in that deep again. But then someone comes along. She's kind. She listens. She laughs at your jokes, even the ones no one else does. She remembers how you take your coffee. She doesn't interrupt when you're quiet. She just sits with you. Suddenly, you find yourself smiling. Again at little things. Cooking dinner feels meaningful again. Even silence becomes something comforting. And for a moment, you dare to think, maybe this time, it's real. You let your guard down, slowly. You allow her into places you kept locked for years. You start imagining a future again, something you haven't done in a long time. And then one evening, during a simple dinner at home, she looks at you with a soft expression and says, "Why are you acting so suspicious? Don't you trust me?" It's not the words alone, it's the tone, gentle, hurt, almost disappointed, like you just broke her heart by simply noticing something that felt off. In that one moment, the warmth shifts. The peace you felt suddenly turns to confusion. You second-guess what you saw. You wonder if maybe you are overthinking it. Maybe it's your past messing with your head. Maybe it's you, and that's what hurts the most. Not her question, but the way it made you question yourself instead of her. That's when the doubt begins to grow. But what I didn't realize then was that the danger wasn't in her answers. It was in her questions. Here's what I've learned, the hard way, and far too late. Women don't always lie with their words. Sometimes they lie with their questions. Not loud, not obvious. Not with stories that don't make sense, but with gentle, carefully chosen words. Questions that sound like concern, but are anything but. That night at dinner, she didn't say, "I've done nothing wrong." She didn't deny. She didn't offer truth. She looked hurt and asked, "Why don't you believe me?" She wasn't defending honesty. She was redirecting the guilt. She was making me feel like the problem, like I was the one who needed to apologize. And that's how it starts. In moments like that, you stop searching for clarity and start defending your character. You're no longer looking for answers. You're trying to prove that you're not paranoid. You're trying to show that you're not insecure. You're trying to be the good man you always thought you were. And while you're busy explaining your heart, she's quietly shifting. The entire story, that's when it hit me. I wasn't losing her in that moment. I was losing me. Piece by piece, truth by truth, question by question. Because that's what these kinds of questions do. They don't ask for truth. They make you doubt. The truth you already feel, and once that happens, you stop trusting your instincts and you start trusting her story more than your own. Let me walk you through exactly how it unfolded, step by step, question by question, until I didn't know what to believe anymore. Because if you're anything like me, it didn't start with some big betrayal. It didn't come crashing in like a wrecking ball. It started small, So small, it almost felt like nothing at all. One night I noticed she had been on the phone, a little too long, a little too quiet. I asked gently, "Hey, who were you talking to earlier?" She smiled, almost amused, and said, "Wow, are we doing the whole jealous boyfriend thing now?" She said it with a laugh, like it was a joke, and I laughed too. I let it go. I told myself, she's just playful. She's not hiding anything. She's different. But looking back, that was the first red flag. Then a few days later, I noticed she was texting more, at dinner, late at night, during our quiet time. I said, "You've been kind of distracted lately. Is everything okay?" She looked at me, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Why are you acting so insecure lately?" That one hit harder, because I've never been an insecure man. Not in relationships, not in life, but when someone you care about looks at you with that kind of pity in their eyes, you start to wonder if maybe it is you. Maybe you're overreacting. Maybe it's just your past wounds talking. Maybe you need to chill out, like she said. So again, I let it slide. Until one day, my best friend, a man I've known for over 30 years, pulled me aside. He said, "Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but I saw her. She was with another guy. It didn't look like just friends." My stomach dropped, but when I brought it up, calmly, not accusing, just asking, she didn't say, "That's not true." She didn't say, "Here's who it was." She said, "You believe strangers over me now?" Strangers. That stranger was the best man at my wedding. He held my hand when my mother died. He's never once lied to me. But suddenly, because she said it with those soft eyes and a cracked voice, I felt ashamed for even asking. I apologized to her for wanting to protect the truth, and that's when I started shrinking, not just in the relationship, but inside. I stopped checking in. I stopped asking questions. I told myself, don't push it. Don't ruin something good. Until one evening, we were sitting on the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us were watching. I turned to her, took a deep breath, and asked, "Is there something you're not telling me?" She didn't flinch. She didn't get defensive. She just smiled like I was. A child asking a silly question, and said, "Have I ever given you a reason not to trust me?" And right then, I froze, because I didn't have an answer, not because the answer didn't exist, but because I had buried it so deep beneath guilt, confusion, and self-doubt that I couldn't even see it anymore. Each question she had asked, every time I brought something up, had pulled me further away from my gut and deeper into her version of the story, a version where I was paranoid, where I was overly sensitive, where she was the calm one, the mature one, the honest one. And I was just insecure, broken, carrying old wounds, but deep down I knew the truth. I just didn't trust myself enough to stand on it. That's the danger of these kinds of questions. They don't scream, they whisper, and those whispers can make you forget what you knew all along. When I look back now, I see that what I went through wasn't confusion. It was manipulation dressed up as concern. This is what emotional manipulation really looks like, especially after 50, when most of us just want peace, not games. It doesn't come crashing in like betrayal in the movies. No screaming matches, no caught-in-the-act moments, no wild drama. Instead, it comes wrapped in soft, subtle questions, the kind that sound innocent, reasonable, even loving, but they're not. They're traps. Little emotional landmines designed to explode inside you, not outside. Because women like this don't lie in the way we expect. They don't need to. They let you do the work. They let you tear yourself apart from the inside. They don't say, "I didn't cheat." They say, "Why are you so insecure?" They don't say, "I was with someone else." They say, "You're always assuming the worst about me." They don't defend themselves. They make you feel guilty for even asking the question, and it works because you care. It works because you don't want to be the man who accuses someone unfairly. It works because deep down you're still trying to be the good guy, the one who listens, the one who doesn't overreact, the one who gives the benefit of the doubt. But here's the twist: that strength, the kindness, the patience, the desire to understand, it becomes the very weapon they use against you. It's emotional judo. They don't push you, they just redirect your own energy until you're the one backing down, apologizing, second-guessing, and they're standing there, calm, collected, looking like the voice of reason, looking like the one in control. And maybe they are, because manipulation, at its core, isn't about lies. It's about control. It's about slowly shaping the narrative until the truth becomes blurry and your gut becomes silent. And you become so wrapped up in not wanting to be wrong that you lose the strength to stand in what feels right. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because by 50, we've been through enough. We don't want games. We don't want to fight. We don't want another war in our hearts. We want peace. We want to believe in something real again. But believing without boundaries, that's not peace. That's how we lose ourselves. And the hardest part, most of the time we don't even know it's happening until we're already gone. Everything changed one afternoon. Quiet porch, heavy air, and a single question I could no longer hold in. I remember the exact moment everything changed. We were sitting out on the porch, late afternoon. The sun was starting to fall behind the trees, one of those quiet days where the world feels still, but your mind is spinning. She was sipping her tea, scrolling on her phone. And me? I had this weight in my chest, not pain exactly, more like pressure, like something inside me was trying to speak, but I kept pressing it down. I'd been pressing it down for weeks, telling myself it was just stress, just my imagination, just old wounds resurfacing. But deep down, I knew better, so I turned to her. I didn't yell, I didn't accuse, I just asked, quietly, honestly, "Is there something you're not telling me?" She didn't get mad, she didn't panic, she didn't look away. She smiled, calm, almost gentle, and then she said something I'll never forget. "You know, I've never lied to you, but maybe you've lied to yourself." And in that one sentence, I shattered, because in that moment I knew she wasn't defending anything, she wasn't denying anything. She was telling me the truth, just not the one I expected. She was right, not because she was innocent, not because there was nothing to hide, but because I had lied to myself. I ignored the signs. I saw the red flags and painted them beige. I heard the change in her voice, felt the distance in her hugs, noticed the cold in her eyes. And I told myself it was nothing. I convinced myself to believe her instead of believing myself. And maybe worst of all, I thought that made me strong. I thought staying calm, staying trusting, staying loyal made me the good guy, the kind of man who doesn't walk away when things get hard. But what I missed was that love isn't about proving how much pain you can tolerate. It's not about ignoring your gut just to keep someone in your life. It's about truth. And the truth was, I had silenced my own voice for so long, I didn't even recognize it anymore. Her questions weren't just distracting me from the truth, they were drowning it. And when she said I had lied to myself, she wasn't mocking me. She was confirming everything I'd been afraid to admit, that I already knew, that I didn't need a confession, that I didn't need proof. I had my answer the whole time. I just didn't trust myself enough to accept it. But that was the moment I woke up. And when I did, I realized she didn't need to lie because I had already done it for her. That moment didn't just open my eyes. It showed me what love is supposed to feel like and what it's never meant to become. Let me tell you something, brother, especially if you're a man over 50 like me. When a woman truly loves you, she doesn't make you feel like you're crazy for asking questions. She doesn't twist your honesty into accusations. She doesn't turn your concerns into character flaws. She doesn't make you feel guilty for having instincts. She doesn't roll her eyes when you bring something up that's been bothering you. She doesn't shame you into silence. She makes you feel safe being you. And that right there, is the difference, because real love isn't afraid of questions, it's not afraid of discomfort, it's not afraid of truth. Real love welcomes clarity, because when there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to fear. See, a good woman doesn't just tell you she's trustworthy. She shows it consistently, quietly, confidently. Her life, her energy, her presence. It all lines up. You don't feel tension in her answers. You don't feel a knot in your chest after your conversations. You don't walk away wondering what just happened. You feel peace. You feel settled. Because love, in its healthiest form, brings stillness to your spirit, not confusion and trust. Trust isn't something you chase. It's not something you force. It's not something you beg for. It's something that flows naturally when a person lives in a way that earns it every single day. You never have to ask a woman like that, "Can I trust you?" because her actions already answered it. She's not trying to convince you, she's just being herself, and that self, it makes you feel clear, it makes you feel calm, it makes you feel seen. And here's the truth, brother. After 50, we don't have time for confusion. We've loved too hard, lost too much, lived through too many storms to pretend anymore. We don't need pretty words. We need honest presence. Because love, real love, doesn't twist your gut. It settles it. And once you've felt that, you'll never settle for less again. So what do you do when you finally wake up and realize your gut was right all along? If you've ever been in my shoes, if you've ever felt like the questions she asked were the real red flags, you're not crazy, you're not weak, you're not too sensitive. You're waking up, and waking up is not a sign of bitterness. It's a sign of healing. It means your soul is finally done being silenced. But when that moment comes, don't explode. Don't demand explanations you already know deep down. Don't go digging for what your gut already confirmed. Instead, get still. Sit with what you know, not just what you hope. Let the truth settle inside you. Let it get heavy. Let it get clear. Then ask yourself this. If your best friend sat across from you, told you the exact same story, what would you say to him? Would you tell him to stay, to second-guess himself? Or would you look him in the eye and say, "You already have your answer. Now choose peace. Now give that same grace, that same clarity to yourself." Because when something feels off, it usually is. If this sounds like something you've lived through too, then I want to hear from you, because your voice matters here. If you've ever had someone look you in the eye and ask a question that made you feel guilty, even though you were just trying to find the truth, then brother, you are not alone. Drop a comment right now and say, "I wasn't wrong, I was just being honest." Let me hear from you. What was the one question that made you start to doubt yourself? What was the moment your gut told you something wasn't right before the truth ever came out? I read every single comment. Not just because I care, but because somewhere out there, another man is reading too, wondering if he's crazy for feeling what he feels. So if this message helped you, even just a little, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, because I promise you, someone out there is just one question away from waking up. Let me leave you with this. After 50, your peace is sacred, and your instincts are worth honoring. After 50, we're not here to chase approval. We're not looking for someone to tell us we matter. We already do. We've survived heartbreaks, disappointments, and chapters we don't talk about out loud. We've learned, often the hard way, that peace is the most valuable thing we own. And now, we protect it fiercely. Because when someone starts making you question your instincts, that's not love. That's control, wrapped in sweet words. We're not here to beg anyone to trust us. We're not here to explain why we feel what we feel. We're here to stand in our truth. And the truth is, you deserve to feel seen. You deserve to feel understood. You deserve to feel safe being yourself. So here's my message to every man out there. Stop listening just to what she says. Start paying attention to how she makes you feel. Does she build you up or break you down? A good woman doesn't need to be trusted blindly. She lives with honesty so openly. You never even have to ask. That's what real love looks like. It brings you peace, not confusion, and that's what you deserve every damn day. If this message reached you today, just know you're not alone, and you never were. If this message spoke to you even just a little, know you're not alone. I've been there too, and I promise you, there is peace on the other side of honesty. So follow this channel, because here we talk real. Not just about love after 50, but about becoming the man who never settles for less again. Your instincts still work, believe in them, and I'll see you in the next one.